Hi there. After the previous Unreal video, there was a request to show destruction in other programs, so let's start with Blender. In Blender there is a very nice add-on called RBD Lab by Metalsoft. Everything here is structured into certain destruction stage. The first stage is like Unreal's fracture. You can use also like a standard fracture and also RBD Lab fracture, which is very similar to Unreal tool. It breaks mesh with curved planes. You can set their number. And just like in Unreal, you can view the cut result with explode view in the debug and fix stage. After applying the fracture, you can immediately enable dynamics for the object. In a physics tab, you can instantly add a ground, so the fragments fall on the surface. If you don't want them to start flying apart right away, you can enable kinematic in a physics section and set the frame when dynamics should start. For example, frame 40. And after that, dynamics will be activated after frame 40. But for my example, I'm using a slightly different pipeline, a standard separation method. We will look similar to the one I will later show you in Houdini. This is called Voronoi fracture, meaning splitting the mesh into pieces using Voronoi. Via volume, we set the desired density, for example 300 pieces, then click accept and fracture. After that, addon shows how geometry was fractured, and we see some errors. To fix them, we select all fractured pieces and click Auto Fix. In about 90% of cases it works fine, but if something didn't work well, I usually select the slightly one piece and run Auto Fix again. Or slightly move the G and their issues is fixed. Once we are satisfied with the result, we click Apply Fracture. Now we have the wall that breaks apart immediately upon playback. Here we can use the constraint method, which holds the fracture pieces together at a certain strength. We set the strength here, for example 1800. The value is right now is chosen by I, then tested in physics simulation. Right now the wall doesn't break. To break it, we add an object that passes through it. To make it affect the wall, in the physics tab, we click in a kinematics tab, select the sphere and click set kinematic. And as we see now, due to our constraint strength, some pieces stay combined and need extra force to break. We can even increase the strength to make more large chunks fall together. However, we can see that the wall still shakes a bit. In Unreal, we used Anchor Field to fix this. Here we do it manually. We select the pieces. We don't want to participate in a simulation. Bottom or sides pieces, and click in Physics tab, Kinematics, Set Kinematic. The pieces turn green, meaning they are now static objects. Once everything I said, I save the projects and I go to the Bake Project tab. To avoid losing our simulation results, we bake a specific stage, in this case rigid body. Next, just like in Unreal, we add the smaller details, like stones that fall apart from our cracks. They are called debris and they are in a particle tab. We can leave the default setting and click Create Debris. The desired pieces from which small rocks will fly out are highlighted. They're colored in red. After that, we can adjust their scale and randomness. Then everything ready, we bake the particles through Bake Particles, Bake All Particles. Everything works correctly. Next, when our wall destruction is working, we move on to smoke. To create smoke, we need to generate smoke particles. Here we can leave also default settings and click Create Smoke Particles. They will be highlighted in a white in our scene. I might increase their number and slightly raise the lifetime, maybe. And slightly raise the lifetime, maybe. Now to see them, we need to create an emitter using from particle add smoke. Usually you need to increase the resolution of our domain. And to preview it properly, we go to cache and bake the model with bake data. Check resumable and bake data. Sometimes smoke doesn't go beyond the bounding box. In this case, in the domain setting, disable adaptive resolution and set it manually. Defining where exactly our particles will generate smoke and set the minimum or maximum range of our domain. Blender is so hard, works with the volumes, and smoke rendering and simulation consume a lot of resources. So, because of that, I recommend you the next method. Now let's move to Houdini, my favorite method for these tasks. I have prepared a setup what you can get from the link in the description. Here I have geometry. Let's import the same wall as in Blender. We break it apart with the scatter, setting the desired number of points, say in 450. As in Unreal in Blender, we can see the result using Explode View. If the edges of inner fractured pieces look too smooth, we can add variation with the interior detail node. We are adding some noise for irregularity. Then we can preview the animation. Okay. But first we must choose which pieces we don't want to participate in simulation. We setting them as static in Unreal or Blender, so they don't affect to the process. We set our bounding box, and next we add the object what will break the geometry. In my case, just a small sphere. Raise it slightly higher, and then in .NET, in our object tab, we set a push force. If you use some animation what fly through the geometry, you don't need it, but I set velocity to 15 and see how it break the wall. We can try -10 as well. If our wall collapsed immediately, that's not ideal, so like in Blender we use constraints. For example, with constraint range set to 150. The wall holds better. Slightly raise it, like 350. Make it even stronger. If we want to more destruction, we increase the push force. Like that. Once I'm happy, I leave it as it. Next we move on the debris. In the debris instances, I subdivide some cube into small pieces that will be instanced on points generated from our fractured chunks. It looks something like this. Closer. We can increase our debris number in this tab, in the debris setup node. Set the frame, after which debris stop generating, as well as their amount. Then we can preview the instances. This node colored green, set from minimum to maximum scale of our instances. To see how our wall collapses, there is a dedicated separated node called out RBD. There's also a setup for smoke, which will also be generated from our particles. At the end of each branch, I made separated outputs for each section. We have debris separately, the wall simulation and break up into large chunks separately, the object what destroy the wall separately, and the smoke separately. In the smoke settings we have a few sliders to tweak in. In attribute wrangle there is a threshold slider. It affects the amount of simulated smoke. I recommend setting it to the values that I have listed there. Also at the end, once we bake, we can adjust the smoke density via density scale, its color, and so on. Just try it visually, it will be clear. In the preview, we'll check if the result is satisfying for us. There is also a final node for everything together, so we can view the complete result, what's happening, except of ball. Let's also connect the ball. Also, I set up node for exporting all this, for example, to Blender. We can export debris in the two ways, either as geometry chunks, which will be exactly like 50k or 100k polygons, depending on how many particle you have and which instances are attached to them, or as points, much smaller Alembic file, which will need to instance in the target software. There you will use it. The main wall simulation can be exported as USD. It's my preference for optimization, or you can do it like Alembic. Smoke can be converted and exported as VDB for use in other soft. To import in Blender, we use three assets. USD file, its wall. Next, we import our volume. Here it's like a volume sequence, all files selected and imported. And then we drop debris points like Alembic. Then in Blender we see our scene in Blender. Then we should use some mesh, for instance, to set up on our points. For example, icosphere. Use instance on points node, then drop in our icosphere, set as instance, and connect geometry to instance. Then we have seen what our sphere on our points is set up. Then adjust some scale. Now we have done a similar scene in Blender. Instead of our icosphere, we can load some collection of varied stones and use a random value node for variation. I hope this setup is useful for you, because I have used it many times. Just try it. Thank you.